Hi and welcome back. So in my humble opinion, sleep trackers are fantastic. The sleep cycle monitor element, obviously not as accurate as being in a sleep laboratory, but they're far better than nothing. But wearing and using a sleep tracker every day, can this be detrimental to your health and to your well-being? Enough waffling off me, let's jump into the presentation and let's find out.
This is a review of a piece I read that was penned by Maximilian de Courton, Moira Junga and Shantha Rajaratnam and was published in The Conversation. In it, they set out the reasons that a sleep tracker may not be a viable option for everyone to use in this day and age, and a more organic option may be preferable. And there are links in the description below to the study and the articles I used to put this presentation together. So, if you have trouble falling asleep or getting a good night's sleep, it seems intuitive to work harder to solve the problem by using some kind of sleep app, a bracelet or another device, many of which have become very popular of late. But could the practice of self-monitoring your sleep result in a kind of good sleep paradox, where instead of fixing the problem, you're focusing on the issue actually creates patterns of stress and arousal that could exacerbate the problem? The actual amount of sleep we need, as well as our preferences for going to bed early or staying up late, vary a great deal from person to person. Some of these differences may be related to age, culture, environment, and in some cases they may be genetically or even hormonally driven. In addition to these variations, there is also a high degree of normal sleep variation, in that it's not expected to be exactly the same for every person every night of the week. Most adults require between 7 and 8 hours sleep per night, but this can range anywhere from 6 to 9 hours per night. Most modern sleep tracker apps use inputs such as sound, breathing patterns, heart rate and motion to estimate going to bed time, waking up time and what happened to you throughout the night. Many apps then use this data to calculate a sleep score and to create simple graphs to allow users to monitor their sleep more easily. The apps usually set out how much time you spent in light sleep, in deep sleep, in REM sleep, and that's rapid eye movement, and how many times during the night you were disturbed or you woke up. Websites that rate the best sleep apps usually limit their tests to the functionalities and the features included in the device, but fall short of actually testing whether these apps accurately measure what they claim. Although sleep trackers are becoming quite accurate at detecting sleep and wake, the classification of the sleep stages remains somewhat unreliable. If you are considering buying or changing your sleep monitoring device, consider visiting the Quantified Scientist YouTube channel. Rob de Horst is a scientist who conducts the most unbiased and comprehensive reviews, tests and comparisons that I have come across to date. If you know of a similar channel or one that is even better, please leave a link in the comments below. It's important not to put too much emphasis on data that may be imprecise, set unrealistic and uninformed sleep goals, or cause you to become overly anxious about your sleep. Some people who think their sleep is somewhat inadequate can worry about it, and this in turn can turn into a kind of performance anxiety. Relatively few small studies are focused on how these wearables can be effectively used to drive positive sleep health behavior changes. The most recent study found a slightly positive effect, but this was in healthy volunteers with no sleep problems to start with. There is a risk when trying to optimize your biometric data that can lead to an obsessive preoccupation aimed at getting your numbers just right. This is becoming more and more common, to the extent there is now a name for this condition, and it's called orthosomnia. Orthosomnia is not a medical disorder. It's more accurately described as an anxiety phenomenon, and it affects people who obsess over the results of their sleep trackers. Our current knowledge of orthosomnia is based on a small number of case studies with very few participants. People with orthosomnia believe their tracking device offers the most accurate information about their sleep, and in some cases they trust their sleep tracker data over more objective testing. This can develop into unhelpful behavior, such as spending longer in bed in order to try and improve your sleep data, which paradoxically can worsen sleep quality and sleep quantity. Generally, sleep tracking devices have a broad appeal and provide no risk to those who sleep well and who are interested in tracking their own personal biodata. But if you feel you may be preoccupied with your sleep and find that you become anxious about your sleep, the authors say you're probably not a good candidate to wear a sleep tracker. I respectfully disagree. The authors say that there's no commercially available sleep tracker that sends a stronger signal about whether you're getting enough sleep than your own brain. The authors also say that if you're alert, able to concentrate, feeling able to have a good quality of life at work and home, then you're probably getting enough sleep. In my humble opinion, this is a very sweeping, vague statement and is not based anyway in facts or science. At the beginning of my NMN experiment, I purchased a fitness tracker to initially monitor my heart rate, but another excellent function is the sleep monitor. Mine records my overall sleep, my light sleep, my deep sleep, my REM sleep, and the minutes that I'm awake during the night. Until I had this technology, like many other people, I went to bed at 10, woke up around 5:30 and assumed I'd slept soundly for around 7.5 hours. My tracker showed me immediately that I was very, very wrong to assume this. Relying on your memory of how you sleep and how you feel the day after, as the authors recommend, is such a subjective way to try and measure the sleep. And this cannot tell you about your light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, and the time you actually spent when you were awake. In my humble opinion, the authors of this piece have got it very, very wrong. A sleep tracker will obviously show you your data, but you have to proactively make changes to improve your sleep. To continue doing the same thing and expect your data to change is obviously going to cause you some anxiety. Darkness and light trigger hormones such as cortisol and melatonin, both key to sleeping and waking up. So the ideal would be to invest in a quality set of blackout curtains. If this is impractical for cost reasons, or maybe you travel a lot and the places that you stay don't always have an adequately blacked out environment, then a cheap eye mask from Amazon is another option. Try not to use the ones given out by airlines because these are next to useless. Mine was only $13 and I never travel without it. It took me about 2 months to get my bedroom to the correct temperature. The AC is now set to 18 degrees centigrade, around 64.5 Fahrenheit. And I use a small temperature gauge on my bedside table or my nightstand to monitor that. Dr. Matthew Walker states it's a scientific fact that your body and your brain need to drop their core temperature by around 1 degree centigrade, 2 to 3 Fahrenheit, to initiate sleep. That's why it's easier to fall asleep in a room that's too cold than to fall asleep in a room that is too hot. Another recommendation by Dr. Walker is to take a warm shower before bed. This ensures the blood rushes to the extremities and away from your body's core. Once out of the shower, there's then a massive dissipation of heat out through the extremities and the core temperature plummets. This adds to the cooling effect that everybody needs to sleep.
Well, I hope you found that interesting or informative, hopefully both. I've got a few points I want to mention with regard to what the author said in their piece. They said if you feel okay, then you probably are okay. But what if you've been suboptimal for years and that is your normal? This would be a bad standard to set yourself against. If you feel you might be preoccupied with your sleep and you find that you might become anxious, you're probably not a good candidate for a sleep tracker. I say you won't know till you try it. So buy a sleep tracker. They're not particularly expensive. Try it for a couple of months and see if it works for you. I think I did suffer from orthosomnia briefly, but that was when I was trying to improve my deep sleep. It was terrible to begin with, and I started changing things such as the time I went to bed, what I would eat close to bedtime, the temperature in the bedroom, taking a shower before I went to bed, and setting my alarm for waking up in the morning. Every time I made one of those changes, I remember I would go to bed thinking, I hope this change is going to make a difference. I hope I'm going to get better deep sleep. When I woke up the next morning and I didn't, there wasn't much I could do about it, but I went to bed the next night feeling as anxious. That said, that lasted about a week because eventually you get tired of being anxious. You just go to sleep, you don't check your phone, and you kind of get over it. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you're thinking about getting a sleep monitor, I would probably ignore what these people have said in the piece I've covered today. Buy a sleep monitor, see how it goes for the first month, and make the changes that you need or you think you may need to change to actually get better sleep. And they're right in saying if you have bad sleep data and you do nothing to change it, it's going to make you anxious, it's going to make you worried. So probably not a good course of action.